new age of watchmen, a team of individuals pooling their talents and abilities come together to bring analysis, reaction, and comedy to the fold. This is their chronicle. This is Accounting Arc.
Welcome everyone. We are glad to be coming to you at the end of the year, and what we thought, since it is the end of the year, is we'd do a year in reflection on, we actually just started this podcast in May, so it's kind of a half a year reflection, but year in reflection on what we've kind of been through, and if we have time, we might do a little bit of looking into the next year. So I'll kick off with just a quick question to Liz and Byron. What actually, first, let me just really thank you guys. I think this has been a great project to see come to life, and I actually want to also thank our listeners out there, because we know that we are one of the top trending podcasts within CPA Trendline Suite. So thank you all for listening and with us. But with that, Liz, Byron, what did you guys like about the past year, or maybe an episode that we did?
Well, I think my favorite part is getting to talk to both of you about topics that I'm passionate about, right? And finding, the academic debate that we have quite fun. And I think it's always cool to hear your perspectives. And sometimes you teach me things, which I also really appreciate. So thank you for that. And to answer your direct question, I think my favorite episode was actually the one where we were talking about ethics and ethical theories, and how sometimes the ethical theories are being applied and not explained what the underlying theory is, and more just what the result is. And so I really enjoyed that debate and discussing the implications of different ethical theories on the profession.
That was a fun conversation, and you had a lot of really great aspects of that conversation. Speaking of learning, I felt like I learned a lot in that conversation.
That's called an ADHD hyper-focused deep dive. Yeah. I get really excited about a topic and learn everything.
You had this super zoom lens on the camera. No, that was a fun one. Absolutely. And to echo, I mean, I look forward to every time the three of us are together, even virtually, to have our conversations. Definitely a highlight of my week. And I love this opportunity, even if nobody else listens, although I very much appreciate the fact that people do. And on that note, I mean, we've had some great conversations, everything from slime mold to, movies and everything else. But, I think the one that we did in person, all together in DC, was just my favorite, because we got to sit there right next to each other and have a conversation and talk about something that, I think it's overlooked. I mean, we've all been to a lot of conferences this year, and just about every single conference is like hybrid, where you could attend virtually or you could attend in person. And I still cannot imagine like actually registering for a potential in-person conference and attending 100% remotely, because I just think so much value in being in person and together at those conferences that was just definitely my highlight of our episodes.
Building on that and some of the earlier comments, I do feel that this podcast is really interesting because the three of us knew each other, actually have known each other for a while. And a lot of the conversations we're having on the podcast are actually the conversations we also have in person at the events. So in some ways, I kind of feel like, oh, it's kind of interesting for people to kind of hear what's going on in our heads, and not knowing necessarily all of their reactions and everything. But I think also the positive feedback we've received is, I think, very affirming as well. So again, I thank everyone for listening, and we love your feedback. Like, if there's a topic that you want us to tackle, you're welcome to send it to any of us, or even just send it to the info@improvetheworld.net. to the center there, and our team will make sure that it comes over into our purview. Huh. I'm trying to think. It's so hard to kind of look at the episode list and be like, oh, what's my favorite? But I actually kind of like the Silicon Valley Bank one that we did.
Ooh.
Because that one I felt was very indicative of, there's a lot going on in the media, and we see that throughout, but what really is happening and what is our role as accountants? And I think just kind of the episodes where we cover that are some of the ones that's my favorite, which ties into the ethics. I mean, we are the number one ethical profession. And so a lot of people don't see the things that we as accountants deal with. And I think we really helped to surface that through several different episodes.
Yeah, no doubt. Now that was a fun one too. I think, with it being such a major event in kind of our worlds and many facets of our worlds, it was just a really interesting conversation in seeing all of our perspectives of how it impacted things around us. I was just looking at the list, and another episode that was really close to that one was our 10-year predictions. And I'm trying to remember what the predictions were, because I'm now thinking about all of the advances with generative AI this year. I mean, that episode we recorded fairly early in the year, and there's been so much that has happened since that episode. I almost want to go back to that and re-listen to it to reevaluate what my predictions were just 6-9 months ago, from what I think my 10-year prediction would be today, because everything's definitely moving faster than I even realize it is.
So I wrote it
Should we
down.
do?
I'm gonna have a team grab a transcript, and we'll do that as maybe one of our
Yes.
New Year episodes. Sorry, Liz, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, should we do an annual 10-year prediction and see what we believe in those moments, or at least what we're hyper fixated on from a technological advancement perspective? Because I think that all of us have a tendency to get really excited about a certain area of tech and then focus on, ooh, what could that mean for the future? So that might be a fun repeat episode.
All right, that sounds like a good
Without a
plan.
doubt. That's
I mean, I
awesome.
think, we also did an episode talking about the accountant's role in tax policy and in legislation and politics in general. I think that one's a fun one to do updates on, and talk through. I think, our stance on the accountant's role probably won't change. However, the political climate is changing. So thinking about, what the implications are and how to navigate difficult conversations that'll likely come of it.
Yeah, without a doubt. I don't think that topic will expire anytime soon as far as being very relevant.
Well,
Yeah,
at
I
least not in
just
this country.
not even just here. I was looking at the amount of just change, political change across the world, and there's a lot of it going on. So it's I think a lot of accountants are dealing with that. And I just listened to a podcast from the um Accounting Alchemy Network, and I was catching up on it, and I can't think of her name now, but there was a woman there from, I think she's from Australia, that was involved in the ACCA, and she had a great statement about the role of the CFO, which was, one, to be the ethical voice in the room, but also that as the CFO, even if it's an outsourced CFO like in CAS, the job is to look at what is best for the business. But she caveated that. She said, not the business meaning profit, but the business looking at the whole picture. So if we go triple bottom line, right? People, planet, profit, business owners, employees, and other stakeholders. So she was like, that's really our job as the CFO. So regardless of what's going on around you and everyone's personal biases, we always have to remember to remove ourselves from that and come back and say, what is the best for all the stakeholders that are involved?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's again goes back to ethics, which is at the core of the way we make all of the decisions and the way we have to conduct ourselves as a profession.
Well, and so many of these topics dovetail, right? Because that's also such a big element of the AI conversation and the bias associated with the AI and the ethics in implementing those tools. It's Yeah, it's kind of funny. We could probably draw a lot of dots between each of our episodes as just, how these things dovetail together and all are all connected.
Well, I mean, we could do like a mind map of the ways that these things relate. But I also think it's important to think about like the foundational episodes, right? Like what is foundational to the accounting profession? What's foundational to people joining our profession or considering it as a career opportunity? And then what is like fundamental, right? In knowledge share and understanding to be an exceptional accountant moving forward. And I think that there's a lot of underlying themes that we tackled this year. And, I think we'll get into more of them next year as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
I definitely agree with that.
totally agree as well. So let me flip it. Which did we have any misses in our episodes? I'm trying to think.
Any
Actually, the one
misses?
that well, actually, I don't know if I tackled it directly, but the one I just commented on before we started recording was seeing a lot of the state societies come on board with the reduction of the from 150 down to 120. I think that was an interest. I would not have predicted that flip to occur, but I think as the last time I saw, there's a good number of them that are all going to start moving legislation through.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be interesting, to see how that falls into place. And then also, I mean, the adoption of formal apprenticeship programs related to accounting, which has been something that I've always thought made sense, and really honestly didn't think that there would ever be a push towards it just because of kind of that philosophy of a professional occupation isn't an apprenticeship type of pipeline. But I'm super excited to see the movement related to implementing actual apprenticeship type education programs for accounting.
You say that, but if we think about the residency program for doctors, isn't that sort of like an apprenticeship?
Sure, that's true. Yeah, yeah.
And I also think, most states require you to have a CPA sign off before your experience is accepted for licensure. And so I think it would just be a slightly different formalization of that process that exists in a certain light already. And quite frankly, I have never cared what you call it, right? Like if it's an apprentice, an intern, a first year staff, associate, whatever you want to call it, like you're getting the same experience. You have to do the same things, right? But there is definitely an evolution of what that looks like today versus, when each of us did our licensure. And I think, it's become much more technology enabled as well as, more global resources being utilized for some of the lower level tasks that person would do. So I think that there's been a lot of modernization, and I think however
Yeah,
the exam licensure path continues to evolve is for the better.
agreed.
Well, that's probably good to mention too, since you mentioned the exam path, really, that has also changed significantly, which probably affects this. So instead of kind of having to know everything per se, you can choose one of the disciplines to focus on. And so maybe you don't need to take as much courses to really be able to pass anymore. Just a hypothesis potentially.
Yeah, I've heard the pass rates on the various new sections are very disparate.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we could do a whole episode on like how the new CPA exam is affecting people in the profession. That would be fun.
Ooh, I'm gonna write that down. Let me see if I can get a NASBA person on the line with us.
Just as long as I can tell the war story of having to take like 2 full days of exams sitting on a terrible chair in the Cow Palace in Timonium, Maryland, like that has
Walk
to be part of the
uphill those ways
conversation.
This is
and
usually my
With
thought. Yes, old man,
newspapers
you
on
can
my
tell your
feet, it
story.
was awful.
you're showing your age, Byron.
I'm gonna dye my hair before that episode.
Perfect. I think we should get a NASBA professional and maybe someone from like a testing facility, and then we should get like 2 people that are currently going through the CPA exam, preferably that have failed multiple sections. And maybe we could even get one of the people that like grades it when it's like very close, and then just put them in the Thunderdome and see what happens. That would be fun.
Uh,
With that said, Liz, I do have to comment that when we were coming up with the name of this, you said the C should be comedy, and I think we definitely brought the comedy, large part thanks to you. But I know Byron and I have had our moments too, so thank you
That
for
was
adding the comedy in.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
But that was the only reason I said that is because I had to justify my use on the show, right? So like you guys know everything. So my use is only for comedic relief.
That is so far from the truth.
Yes, and the ethics episode was a great example of that. You brought so much, not in just that episode, but
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. But yeah, no, I do think we should come up with some really creative ideas for next year and bringing in some new voices and
Yeah.
making sure we're hearing how people who are, affected by things that are happening in the profession are feeling about it and what it does to them on a day-to-day basis. Because I think we can talk about all this stuff theoretically, and a lot of this stuff does affect us regularly, and we can speak to that quite well. But some of this other stuff, it doesn't. Like we're all licensed, so changes in licensure doesn't really affect us.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think that would be fun for the upcoming year. And also, Donnie and I were exchanging some messages recently. I think some more reaction episodes, which is a little bit of what we, kind of Silicon Valley was a little bit of that. And,
Dating
there's
fraud.
yeah, yeah, and there's a lot of conversations that are going on outside of the 3 of us. I mean, we're the only conversation that matters, but there's a lot of other conversations going on that, I'd love to kind of share my perspective of some of those conversations and what those are, because there's a wide variety of perspectives in the world. So it'd be fun to do some reaction episodes.
And I'm gonna throw that out to the listeners too. If there's something that you would like us to react to, send it over to us, and we'd be happy to take a look at it and see if we can even grab a bunch of them together and do just a show on reactions. That might be kind of fun too.
Oh, that'd be fun.
I think
Yeah.
maybe blind reactions would be fun too, where like one of us prepares a topic and the others don't know. We just get complete unfiltered reactions.
I like it. Yeah, I like the element of surprise.
Also, you don't like to prepare, so it kind of
Ooh, called it out. Called it
I
out.
did.
That
goes back to the right kind of lazy, right?
That's exactly right. I'm at my best when I'm surprised.
That's funny. Not true. And also, it would be fun.
That's true. But yes, I like that. That would be fun though.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
I think we've had a really good year. What are you guys thinking about going into next year? Like what's top of mind?
Ooh.
I'll share mine. So the 2 things that are top of mind to me, one is culture, and culture from the standpoint of I've been doing a bunch of research around what makes firms successful. Number 1 has come out as technology. Number 2 has been culture, and culture is like this amorphous thing, right? And so one of my goals for next year is to really help define what is culture and how do we drive the right kind of culture within the accounting profession. So first, we're going to start with firms, and then we want to also look at finance departments. But that's the number 1 thing for me. That's my theme kind of for next year,
I
because
love
you guys
this
know
topic.
that we've got the tech pretty well done.
Yeah, you guys are the best, but I love this topic. And it's something I was actually talking about this morning with one of my team members, which was how do you build a business model that promotes a healthy culture? Because I do think compensation models as well as revenue models affect culture very heavily. And I think that it's something that you need to consider when you're building any kind of business, and particularly accounting departments or how that works, and accounting firms and otherwise. So anyways, I want to talk about that too.
So,
Yeah, I think that's a fun conversation because there's also I mean I don't know if it's a debate, but let's call it a debate as far as just how much control you have over that culture. I think there's leaders who want to own every aspect of the culture that gets built in their organization, and then there's the reality. So yeah, that's a fun conversation. I feel like we could do a few episodes on culture. What is good culture? What's bad culture? How culture evolves.
Maybe some interviews.
Yeah.
Find,
Well, yeah.
I feel like we could find someone who just quit right after busy season from like a large firm and they're really angry. Like I would have so much fun with that. Can we do that?
that,
It's a total
that
setup, but also,
that actually so was interesting because Chase Berkey and I had a exchange and or was it an exchange or it might have been in one of the meetings anyway. He was mentioning how, with all these mergers and things occurring, that he's seeing an increase of people coming to him that don't like the
Yeah.
new culture and are leaving. And I was like, actually, I've talked to a lot that have stayed and love the new direction of the firm and the thing. So,
Mhm.
it's interesting yeah, it would be interesting to just kind of get both sides on that.
Yeah.
would be
Yeah.
fun.
So my number two thing, which is actually sort of tied into that, key KPIs for firms.
Mhm.
As part of changing the culture is changing the focus on the billable hour. It's a huge thing within, right? Because that just kept coming up this year. And so what are the right metrics for firms to use to gauge the firm's performance? And so that's another big project that I've got next year that I want to focus on.
How does that evolve with scale? I think that's a necessary conversation when you're looking at metrics because there is not one answer, right? It's a sliding evolution and depends on a lot of goals too.
Oh
But
yeah.
I love that. It's something I've thought a lot about as well.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of those KPIs that probably people don't even know exist that could be explored. The traditional KPIs of accounting firms are, usually don't tell the story people like to
Well,
believe they tell.
they incentivize the wrong culture in some cases as well. So
Yeah.
No
So
doubt.
having just listened to Michelle River speak at the Lineal Global conference and having talked with Ron a bunch before, that's where I'm kind of like I kind of want to pull everyone's things together and look at that and go, okay, what really makes sense and what is there a difference in what makes sense for a smaller firm versus a larger firm as we look at it. So that's kind of the other thing I'm looking forward to next year.
yeah, well, and then you could like rope in some psychological theory on top of it, and look at like the implications on human behavior.
Hmm.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no doubt. I so one of the things for 2025 that I'm really excited for is Mark Koziel coming in as the CEO of AICPA. I mean, obviously he's taking helm of a cruise ship. So you can't just, begin spinning the wheel and making
I mean, you
massive.
can. People just
I
fall
mean,
off.
yeah, you're going to lose a lot of your people who are enjoying their cruise, but
Oh,
which maybe is a good thing, right? I mean, it's sometimes people just need to die off, which is okay. Um, but I'm really excited to, knowing Mark really well, knowing that he comes from a small firm background, knowing just who he is as a human. I'm just really excited to, see what changes happen with him coming in as CEO.
yeah, I agree. I think it'll be an interesting shift for the profession. And, I think there's a lot of needed guidance and direction. And I also think that it will make way for what will happen with the next generation. I mean, I think right now, I think last time I looked, the average age of a CPA was like 55, which is pretty bad, which I think makes all of us younger than the average CPA, which is kind of a sad point to look at, where I feel like the average age of a CPA should probably be somewhere in their 30s, for like healthy population growth, if you look at like the trends over time.
Sure.
So all of that to say, there will be a cliff, there will be a shift, and hopefully we're able to get a lot of new, excited, younger humans involved in our profession and thinking about what the future could look like, integrating technology, culture, KPIs. Um, and so, one of the things I'm excited to talk to you guys about next year is where are those things shifting? What change do we see? What transition are we witnessing or hopeful for? And how is it affecting the underlying profession?
Yeah.
It will be. I gotta echo Byron's excitement with Mark. So also having known Mark personally and professionally for a while, and then also being part of his transformation team and helping to lead a lot of the transformations and that he did with Alineo Global, I'm super excited to see what he's gonna do with the AI CPA. It was one of those things when Barry made the announcement. I had talked to Mark and I said, I love what you're doing at Alineo Global, but the profession needs you. So I hope you'll consider applying. And kind of seeing in the end him get this, I was like, this is going to be very interesting. And tying back into the young people, Mark always talks about how he was young back then. I think we all kind of were, but he was also very pro young CPA, young accountant. He brought a lot of those ideas into the AICPA, PCPS, and he was a big supporter when we started the Edge conference as well. So definitely, it's top of mind for him as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think Mark will do great things. And also, he's not super young, and I say that in a meaningful way, which means that he won't be CEO forever, right? There will have to naturally be another change, which I think is good. I think there probably should be term limits on that. If you're thinking about longevity of a profession and what has to happen for evolution to keep pace, inside, especially when you have technology evolving at the speed that it is, within our profession. So, I think about that, and then I think about how much legislative control the AICPA has, and I guess control is the wrong word, but influence is the right word. And what, who is behind that influence and what that means long term. And I think Mark is very cognizant of decisions made today and how it influences the future, which I appreciate, and is not lackadaisical in thinking about that and understanding the implications of those actions and beliefs and how you approach situations and the meaning behind that. And I think he's shown that through his experience. And so, I look forward to that because I think he will set the stage for what needs to happen next and, be kind of a transitional and also, innovative voice in what the profession can be, and set the AICPA and set the entire profession up for success for beyond the next, 10 to 15 years, but the next 20 to 50 years.
Yeah, well said. I agree. The only second thing, well, I'm sure it's not the only, but the second thing that really comes to mind sitting here, of course, the tech guy, it can't resist. I've already mentioned AI once, so drink again. AI, generative AI. I mean, 2025 is going to be nuts, I think, with respect to the innovation that we are going to see. And the potential that will be at our fingertips, in our pockets, in our earbuds. I can't even venture a prediction, just given how quickly things have moved, and where they're going. But it's going to be exciting.
It's already exciting.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I think that the atmosphere is shifting away from fear into, okay, this is here, let's embrace it. And how do we use it most effectively? Which means that we're getting more and more tested tools that are available, and we'll just have better insights, right? Because, the human mind is a really, really incredible place. And also, we cannot process that much data in short amount of time. And so if we can creatively approach AI to process the data for us and give us the trend that we need, the understanding, the predictions, be able to pull in information that there's no way we could even know, it'll make a giant difference in the way we're able to advise our clients. And, I think it'll make a giant difference on the economy ultimately too.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually just finished, I did a pilot generative AI training for the MACPA for 14 CPAs, all different venues, audit, tax, CFO, controller, wide variety. And seeing all the thing, like it was a 6-week course, showing them how to use it effectively and seeing all the things that they've done since the course that they are now using to help steer their organization, steer their clients in just a 6-week course, is blowing my mind. So to your point, all of us have seen how hard it has been to move the profession into the cloud or into using it to be paperless. I mean all of this has been kicking and screaming, and you're absolutely right, Liz. I do think that there's going to be less kicking and screaming as this continues to progress.
Yeah, and that's exciting to me because it changes when people flip their brains from being obstinate and thinking negatively, it changes possibilities and it changes outcomes significantly. And so it's really fun to see this profession start thinking positively again and finding the ways things can help versus all the potential pitfalls.
No doubt.
Building off of what Byron just said, the other thing I love is that the tools for us are getting so much better. So it's almost like when the spreadsheet came in and we're not relying upon the IT people to analyze the data. I feel like that's coming into a lot of things. And even this is one of my digs again to the people that were like, we need to pay as much as the IT side. Well, I just had one of my development teams complete actually, I'm going to change that. What would have been a development team exercise that would have taken 4 to 6 months to probably build, we had one senior developer build in about 2 months, not full time. Like a full web app. It was kind of crazy because we had it slated for next year and he was like, you know what? I just started playing with the generative AI and I just built this thing, and he showed us the prototype. It was like almost there. It looked pretty, everything. And he's not a UX designer. So he's like, yeah, I think I'm going to be able to get this done in the next couple of months. And he almost did. I mean, we're still waiting, but he's almost there. And I was like, that is crazy. I don't need a team of 10. I just need a team of 1 with the AI tools on the coding. So go ahead, go become engineers. I think you're going to want to become an accountant because we're going to have a much longer career span.
Yeah. Well, and I think the trust side of it is really important too, right?
That's right.
What we do is more than putting, together information. We interpret it and utilize more than AI could give you. And when you're making money decisions, you don't want to rely on something that could hallucinate.
Which is also why robo-investors have not been able to replace the traditional investment analyst.
Oh, that would
And
be
why humans aren't the perfect result also because they hallucinate at times as well.
Right. Well, and thinking about well, that's true, but that's generally induced by other substances, which normally when you're in a professional environment you avoid, but each their own. I was thinking about efficient market theory and how robo advisors have disrupted that in a way and changed what economic theories are useful when looking at the market. But that of course is a finance topic, not an accounting topic. If we could segue for a day or an hour.
How dare you?
I know. I have so many opinions on so many topics.
That's why we love you.
On that though, I do have to say that this year was the year I saw the value of economics. I mean, before I was like, honestly, I hated it in college. I was like, oh, I think that was my only D in college.
Tax was my D.
I never got it in college.
But now I'm like, oh my God, all of this stuff is all economics, all intertwined.
Economics was my favorite. I took so many econ classes that I was like one class shy of an econ minor
Wow.
and like 3 classes shy of an econ major for like absolutely no reason other than I liked them. I just kept taking.
Awesome.
Anyways, and then I decided I was going to graduate early. So I said, well, I don't need that degree. I have 2 already.
Good decision.
I mean, it was definitely the best financial decision and like, but I don't know. I totally could be an economist. That would be fun.
It's not too
No
late.
doubt.
It's
You're still
true.
young.
It's not too late. I could, go into a PhD program tomorrow.
So Liz, have you shared your things you're looking forward to for 2025?
I think transition and thinking about like
Okay.
the catalysts of change and what will happen and what we're seeing foundationally now that will make a giant impact in the future. And I think like some of those things we addressed this year, I'd love to start paying more attention to what small changes have a really big impact for the future and what that looks like and how we can be cognizant of it and excited about what that entails.
Well, we've wrapped up the year and we've started looking at our intentions for next year. So maybe I'll just start to wrap us up here, but I want to leave that last call out to all of the listeners. So if there's something that you want us to react to, send it in. If there's topics you think you'd love to hear our opinions on, send that in. Or I'll throw this other one in. If you want to come and join us on here to talk about something, I don't know if we're going to do the blind one on that one, Liz, but well, if someone wants to come and join us, come let us know. We'd love to kind of broaden this. Part of our whole thing in this podcast is really just exploring different ideas. You've heard times that we don't agree on things and we don't want to create an echo chamber of ourselves. So love to have even dissenting views on the podcast with us. With that, I want to wish everyone a happy new year as we go into that. And again, my biggest thanks to you, Byron and Liz, for helping me start this podcast up.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Donny.
It's fun.
My awkward
Absolutely.
heart.
I can't even do it. It's
a defunct. There you go. Liz did
there you go.
So much better.
All right. Bye, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
The Center for Accounting Transformation provides business professionals with a network for utilizing innovations that are ready for adoption, the training and resources necessary to apply those innovations, and an opportunity to engage the talent and community needed to further the pursuit of innovative accounting practices that drive responsible and mindful business performance. Find out more at our website, www.improvetheworld.net. And if you're interested in sharing your own transformation stories, please contact us there.